Vanakkam. Every year, April 18th is celebrated as World Heritage Day, an international day for monuments and sites, promoting awareness to protect and conserve our cultural heritage for future generations. We stand today here in Ellis Nahar in Madurai, hardly 3 kilometers away from the world famous Meenakshi Amman temple. Now, this may not be a historic site in the conventional sense. This colony was created by the Tamil Nadu Housing Board in the 1980s and has been named after Francis White Ellis. Now, how many of us living in this city know the significance of the gentleman after whom this area is named? That makes it a culturally relevant site. Francis White Ellis was a British civil servant of the Madras Presidency, and it is in recognition of his yeoman service to Mother Tamil that this area has been named after him. It was F.W. Ellis who first claimed classical status for Mother Tamil, points out Professor Dr. Marudanayagam, a great Tamil scholar and recipient of the prestigious Kalaignar Classical Tamil Award in the year 2013. So, who was Francis White Ellis and how did he come to Madras Presidency? The year was 1798. Tipu Sultan had suffered defeat at the hands of the British, and territories were being added by the then British East India Company. Mysore was being violently annexed, and many young British officers were being recruited and shipped to the Orient to carry out the administrative works of the company. A 21-year-old Ellis landed in Madras to join the Board of Revenue. Erudite and hardworking, he went on to become the collector of Madras Presidency in 1810 at the young age of 33. More importantly, he would go on to be celebrated as the founding father of comparative philology by yet another phenomenal British scholar, A.C. Burnell, an expert in Sanskrit and South Indian languages, who published the landmark, The Handbook of South Indian Paleography in the year 1874, paleography being the study of ancient writings and manuscripts. So, how did Ellis, who came here as a civil servant, become a linguistic expert? With a number of young British officers being posted to the south, the British East India Company believed that gaining basic proficiency in the local vernacular languages would help them administer the natives more efficiently. Ellis was entrusted with the task of creating a crash course in the vernacular languages of South India. Being a gifted polyglot, that is, a learner of many languages, Ellis already knew some Hebrew, Persian, Arabic, and Sanskrit. He went on to master Tamil and fell in love with the language and literature. He also mastered Telugu, Kannada, and Malayalam. He became the collector of Madras in 1810. The Madras Presidency was then a tract of land measuring about 26 square miles, with the Fort St. George at the center, surrounded by garden suburbs and farming villages. It is interesting to note that the main stream of revenue over which the company enforced monopoly was liquor and tobacco, followed by salt. Managed by the Arak and Toddy department of the British Company, much similar to the taskmark that prevails today, history continues with the Fort St. George still being the center of power, housing the Tamil Nadu Secretariat till today. As he learned the regional languages in quick succession, Ellis stumbled upon a breakthrough discovery. Through methodical comparative study, he established that the South Indian vernaculars were indeed an independent group of languages. This he did by comparing the roots of Sanskrit words with the roots of these vernaculars, and by creating a complex table of shared cognate roots of Tamil, Telugu, and Kannada. He called it the Dravidian proof. It was a step-by-step attempt to establish the non-Sanskritic origins of the South Indian languages. Expanding on this is way beyond our scope here. With the aim of roping in scholarly support for his pioneering research and for tutoring the British officers, Ellis founded the College of Fort St. George in the year 1812. The Madras Literary Society was also founded in the same year. The following year, the college got its own press, the first press outside of Europe. Publications started appearing in all the four major vernaculars of Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, and Kannada. The college and the Madras Literary Society eventually shifted to a new campus on the banks of the river Kuvam, that is today's DPI office, the Directorate of Public Instruction, on College Road. And yes, the road got its name from the college that was shifted from Fort St. George. The Dravidian Proof was published as a note of introduction by Ellis to the work of his protege A.D. Campbell on Telugu grammar. The note described that most South Indian languages existed as a separate Dravidian family of languages. It questioned the hegemony of Sanskrit over most South Indian languages as proposed by Sir William Jones decades earlier. It was this idea of the Dravidian language family put forth by F.W. Ellis that was expounded further by Bishop Robert Caldwell a few decades later, leading to his monumental work, A Comparative Grammar of the Dravidian or South Indian Family of Languages, published in 1856. Caldwell acknowledges Ellis's work in the preface to the first edition. The fact that the Dravidian language family was independent of Sanskrit and that Tamil was the oldest tongue inspired many discoveries, leading to a Tamil renaissance of sorts. It saw the restoration of old classical Tamil literature, and all this set off a domino effect that ended with the establishment of the Dravidian movement in the 1900s that continues to shape our perceptions of Dravidian identity and politics even today. Ellis had a high regard for the poet saint Thiruvalluvar and his work Tirukkural. Having studied it thoroughly, he ended up translating the first 18 chapters of the Arathupal, the first canto that deals with ethics and virtue, 13 of which were published by the college press during his lifetime. His commentary on the Tirukkural is a witness of his profound scholarship in Tamil literature, points out Professor Dr. Maruthanayagam, and shows how Ellis compares and quotes from the Tolgapiyam, the Purananuru, the other 18 didactic works, the Keelkanakku நூல்கள் like நான்மணி கடிகை, ஏலாதி, சிறுபஞ்சமூலம், இனியவை 40, இன்னா 40, then follows ஆசாரக்கோவை, மூதுரை, ஜீவக சிந்தாமணி, திருமந்திரம், திருவாசகம், கம்பராமாயணம், and less popular works like Prabhulinga Leelai and Sivavakyam, to name a few. Ellis also developed a keen knowledge of Tamil culture, including the different religious faiths that prevailed at that time, including Saivism and Vaishnavism. His knowledge was so deep that he could quote selected poems from various works, like for instance, he recognizes the greatness of Sivavakyam, a treatise by the Siddhar Sivavakyar, which denied the efficacy of all sorts of man-made rituals in realizing God. He quotes the stanza titled Sivathin Unmai that goes, Ariyumalla Ayanumalla Appurathil Appuram, Karumai Semmai Venmayai Kadandu Nindra Karanam, பெரியதல்ல சிறியதல்ல பெண்ணுமானும் அல்லவே துரியமும் கடந்து நின்ற தூர தூர தூரமே. In his own words, it reads, It is not Hari, it is not Haran, nor is it beyond the black, the red or the white. It is not great, it is not small, neither is it male nor female. Beyond every state of corporeal being, it is farther, farther, farther still. We should remember that all these Tamil works that he read at that time were mostly available as palm leaf manuscripts and not printed material. Then one can understand the length of trouble to which Ellis would have gone to master them. Dr. Maruthanayagam is even more amazed at the thorough research done by Ellis in that he even includes alternate readings of manuscripts. For example, In his commentary on the chapter on gratitude, Sei Nandri Aridal, he quotes a Purananuru song 34 by Alandur Kirar on Soran Kulamuttu Tunjiya Killi Valavan that goes, ஆண்முலை அறுத்த அறநிலோர்க்கும் மானிழை மகளிர் கரு சிதைத்தோர்க்கும் குறவர் தப்பிய கொடுமையோர்க்கும் வழுவாய் மருங்கிற் கழுவாயும் உளவென go the lines, and he gave the English translation thus: there is compensation even for those who cut the udders of the cows, those who have destroyed the fetus in the wombs of jewel-bedecked ladies, and those who have behaved harshly towards religious instructors. The ethical books say that even if the world becomes upside down, there is no compensation for those who forget gratitude. Now, in this poem, the term Kuravar is equated by him to religious instructors. He shows an alternate reading in another palm leaf manuscript where the word Kuravar is replaced by the word Parpar, meaning Brahmins, and it goes, Parpar Tappiya Kodumayorkum. As the collector of Madras, Ellis built 27 wells to tackle the water crisis that seems to have been as worrisome in Madras as it is in today's Chennai. A stone inscription found on the walls of one of the wells in the Periyabalayathamman temple at Rayapeta carries a lengthy inscription in chaste Tamil composed by Ellis himself, in which he quotes the particular Tirukural that inspired him to undertake the very work of digging these wells. I, Ellison from Chennapatnam, the city between the western hills and the eastern seas, that shines like a jewel upon the ocean, on this auspicious day have commissioned 27 wells. தெய்வ புலமை திருவள்ளுவனார் திருக்குறள் தன்னில் திருவுளம் பற்றி இருபுணலும் வாய்ந்த மலையும் வருபுணலும் வல்லரனும் நாட்டிற்கு உறுப்பு. He quotes this Tirukkural from the chapter on Nadu, that is country, which means the constituents of a kingdom are the two waters from above and below, well-situated hills, and an indestructible fortress. This stone tablet with the inscription is preserved safely in the museum at the Thirumalai Nayakar Mahal Palace in Madurai. When he was in charge of the Madras Treasury and Mint, Ellis issued gold coins bearing Thiruvalluvar's image. His ultimate ambition and dream project was to create a treatise on the history of Tamil literature, points out Thomas Trotman, the American historian and anthropologist, who has done extensive research on the works of Ellis, and he published Language and Nations, the Dravidian Proof in Colonial Madras in 2006. When Ellis died prematurely at the age of 41, much of his research work remained unpublished. This was because Ellis took a call not to put into print any of his works until he reached the ripe mature age of 40. He died of a self-inflicted accidental food poisoning while in Ramnad in 1819. An unmarked memorial stands among the graves of foreigners and British officials on the premises of the CSI Church in Ramanathapuram. Ellis had left a bulk of his research papers with his friend and the then collector of Madurai, Rose Peter, who was himself a very popular figure with the locals who called him Peter Pandian. Therein occurred another tragic accident where the cook of Rose Peter used bundles of these research papers. Ellis had left some of his papers, both philological and political, with Sir Walter Elliot, yet another famed Oriental scholar. On his passing away, these papers went to the hands of G.U. Pope, who safely deposited them with the Bodleian Library at Oxford, England. Trotman travelled great distances literally to collect and compile his works. Trotman records an interesting episode that happened around that time. While the world was battling with the epidemic of smallpox, the invention of vaccinations came as a great boon. The vaccines soon reached India, but here they were met with fear and suspicion. It is then that Ellis, with his deep understanding of the local belief systems and cultural practices, is said to have committed a pious fraud by composing the legend of the cowpox in Tamil, a Purana-like text which was a colloquy between Dhanvantri, the physician god, and Shakti, the goddess Mariamman. Shakti declares that the vaccine is nothing but the sixth kavya from the cow. We know of the Panchakavyam, created by her to relieve humanity from the suffering of smallpox. The story was passed off as ancient, thus, by linking the vaccine to the revered cow and the gods, Ellis tried to muster legitimacy for carrying out his propaganda for vaccination in the Madras presidency. As an administrator, Ellis was well liked by his subjects. His grave at Dindigul bears two inscriptions, one in Tamil and one in English. Ellis Durai lives in popular memory today in the name of Ellis Nagar here in Madurai. Vanakkam.